Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No, Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. I'm gonna jump into some bite down boxing talk. Check me out over at www.bitedownboxing.com. Um, Had to come back and touch on the heavyweight, actually just boxing from this weekend, which was highlighted, or the big developments were obviously the Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois fight, which went down Saturday on ESPN Plus. And then also there was the Tony Yoka victory over Christian Hammer, which went the distance. I'm not gonna try to. I'm gonna try to stay on here briefly, but in my opinion, this was kind of a situation where one guy was able to take a step forward in the division in Joyce by continuing to do what was working, and then when he did get away from it briefly, made an adjustment, but continued doing what was allowing him to be successful early on. And then in Tony Yoka's situation, yes, he got the victory against a good opponent in Christian Hammer, but I don't know if it was really lackluster, but he failed to really change up and do anything different to capture an exciting moment, and just kind of fought a guy for what was it, 10 rounds. So let me jump into it. Actually, I'm just gonna start with Yoka first. He goes in he moves to 9-0, 7 KOs. I believe there was a report out there that he hurt his hand afterwards, and like I said, he basically just. I'm sitting here waiting on something exciting to happen. The heavyweights have been on this resurgence for well over a year and a half now, and here's a young guy that I wanted to see do something special. And while he kind of neutralized a lot of what Hammer wanted to do or wanted to try to do, I just felt like he never changed up anything to really hurt a guy who was there just to kind of survive and mix it up and not get knocked out, not open himself up to be knocked out. And whether it was we don't see heavyweights necessarily get to a lot of angles, but varying up the jab, doubles, triples, just walk through the front door the same way all night, and just here and there just tried to have these just try to throw a big punch, decent body work at times. Some went to shoot the uppercut at some times, but mainly tried to land a big right hand all night long, and with no real cover for it, no real disguise or deception for it, and Hammer ends up going the distance. Also in that fight was Victor Vikrist against who got a unanimous win over Kamil Sokolowski. I thought that was a pretty decent fight. It was a 1 or 2 knockdowns. I believe it was 2 that Vikrist got. He moved to 4-0 or 5-0. Somebody I'll check for more in the future. He kind of reminded me of Vlad a little bit with the haircut, or the haircut in the forehead a little bit. Kind of had some features that resembled Vlad a little bit, in my opinion. But all in all, like I said, Tony Yoka, I think he's 28 years old, really didn't move the needle a whole lot for me to look at him as that he's arrived just yet. I thought he should have looked a little bit better against Hammer, who, Hammer went the distance with Luis Ortiz recently. So, it's not like Hammer is just complete trash. But again, I just didn't see the creativity. And in Yoka's defense, I guess he wasn't working with his normal trainer because the dude wasn't able to travel from America and whatnot, or he wasn't able to travel over to America to work with him and whatnot. So we'll see what happens next for Yoka, get that hand together, and who he returns against, and what's the next move for him. Looking at the Church House card on ESPN Plus, which is headlined by Dubois and Joyce. Just a quick note on the heavyweight, project. David Adelaide, he gets the second round stoppage against Danny Whitaker. Very raw guy. I heard them mention that not much amateur background for the guy. So it's interesting to see these big guys over in the UK just take up boxing and give a go of it. But he's got a lot to learn, but he's enthusiastic about what he's doing. Almost had an issue with the possible disqualification for hitting Whitaker while he was on the ground. But I like the guy that he's big and can still move quite a bit, show decent power. I would have liked to see his shots land a little bit more accurately. Slow down maybe just a little bit, but his eyes got big, emotions, and like I said, a lot of those shots were kind of slipping off to the side, or he was landing on the side of the glove, or so on and so forth. So maybe just slow down a little bit, stay more composed when you go for the finish, and hit what you're seeing. Also on there was super lightweight, top ranked or contender, super lightweight Jack Catterall. He won a unanimous decision against Abderazak Huya, I think is how you pronounce his name. Catterall got knockdowns in the 6th and the 9th and basically didn't have many troubles with Huya. I'm looking at Catterall, who says there's an agreement in place for him to fight the winner of Ramirez, or actually maybe just Taylor if he's the winner. I think that'll be a good fight for the UK. I don't know if Catterall is a big enough puncher or better enough or better than Taylor at boxing to defeat Taylor. I would favor Taylor in that. I think Taylor has showed me more levels, or more range, more wrinkles to his game. He can bang, he can box, he's big, a little bit of dog in him. Catterall, I think it'll be an exciting fight, and I definitely think it'll be a great, world title defense for Taylor. But anyway, it was good to see Catterall. If that's the direction they choose to go in, and if they can get that done, that's great. Also, I think based on his power and what I saw from him, if somebody like Teofimo Lopez was ready to go up to super lightweight, maybe that's not a bad matchup at some point. Before you throw Teofimo in there with a champion at that division, unless Catterall gets that title. And then let's move on to Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. Dubois did some things we didn't know he could do. I thought he was pushing the jab out there for a little while, but however it was getting there and having some effect. And it neutralized or fended off, Daniel Dubois, and just created some uncertainty in what adjustment, the youngster wanted to go to. I think Dubois is 23? Joyce is 35. And then, he just, even when he got in trouble, they're in rounds 5 or 6 or whatever. Like I said, check out the article. I'll put a write-up up at www.bitedownboxing.com. Joyce, I don't know, man. He looks a little methodical. Both of these guys are a little bit stiff, but differently. But the thing that Joyce did was smart. Was he stayed on the jab. Like I said, it wasn't a beautiful jab. It wasn't the most educated looking jab, but he just stuck with it and kept some volume with it. He kept circling away to his right, staying away from the right hand of Dubois. When Dubois did get Joyce in some danger there in the mid rounds, Dubois just didn't he didn't go all out to I think he thought if I can't get him now, I've at least hurt him a little bit, and he'll definitely be there in late rounds. But this kind of was overlooking the fact of the damage that was building up around his left eye. And so you see at the end of round 9, Joyce is really confident and yells as the bell ends, he yells over at the Dubois corner. And this is letting me know that even at just 11 fights going into this, he's just a more experienced guy, an older guy, obviously 35, but he's aware that his opponent is in a place that he's uncomfortable. He's looking a little confused. He's looking like he's thinking things through. And I thought letting him know at the end of that, yeah, you might be getting the best of me. You might even be up on the cards or whatever. But we got a few more rounds to go where I'm going to be having fun and I'm going to be competing, with everything. And you're over here kind of uncertain, up and down in what you're trying to do, is what I thought the message, he sent over to Dubois in his corner. And then, he comes out early in the 10th round. Dubois steps in again, squared up on the line, same kind of way into the pocket, gets hit with a left, with a left jab. That's directly on the target, and he steps away, paws at his eye for a minute, and then drops down to a knee, and doesn't get up until after the count of 10 or right at the count of 10. Solid victory for Joe Joyce. Like I said, we didn't know. I hadn't seen him fight like that before. I'm sure the fight with Jennings was good for him. You can't overlook these different victories. You can't overlook these different victories and what they mean in one's development. And it's in terms of quitting. And in regards to Dubois, I'm not going to knock the kid a whole lot because, in my opinion, this isn't even trying to play devil's advocate or glass half full. At the end of the day, so long as he doesn't quit boxing, so long as he doesn't retire from the sport of boxing, what he does next is what's most important. He can still go out here, come back. There's supposed to be a broken orbital bone, some nerve damage is what the reports are. But again, you can heal up, come back, be moved the right way, and still go on to have, if not a meaningful career, you can make some good money. 3 or 4 fights, you could probably make some good money and, maybe enough for a decent portion of his life until you figure out what's next or whatever. But, and I'll say this because of this. Back in 2009, Robert Guerrero, he faced Daoud Jordan, and there was a headbutt, a clash of heads early in that fight, and it ended, I believe, after the 3rd round, and it became a no decision. I remember watching that fight, and it was a lot of thoughts. It was a cut over the right eye that developed for Guerrero. And, he didn't look all that comfortable, and he didn't fight to continue fighting. The fight was stopped. It was made a no decision. And there was the same conversations, the same discussions, the same mumblings. Maybe he's not tough enough. He quit. Did he quit? Could he have fought on? These same things. And, it's made a no decision. He comes back. He goes like on an 8-0 run, beats Andre Berto, I believe, in November of 2011. And then in May of 2012, he gets the big call. He faces Floyd Mayweather Jr., and goes on to do other things after that. So that's what I'm saying, man. It only really becomes a story for me if in 2 months or 3 months we hear that Dubois has packed it in. It's people that still believe in an Adrian Broner. And again, don't get all emotional here that I'm talking about Broner, who a lot of people seem to have this undying love for and support for. But in his biggest fights, he really hasn't been all that competitive. He really hasn't tried to compete in a lot of those. In particular, Garcia and then Manny Pacquiao. You have to think, out of all the great fights that Manny Pacquiao will have been in before he hangs it up, and when Adrian Broner had that opportunity, he did very little, and nobody will ever discuss Pacquiao Broner. It wouldn't even be mentioned in the top 15 fights, unless you're talking about how Pacquiao took apart, a much younger fighter. So again, I'm being consistent. It's not over with for the kid unless he says he's done boxing. Now, when you work your way up to the, an eliminator or something, or you get to facing guys that are going somewhere, yeah, you're gonna have to prove that you won't pack it in when times get tough. That's gonna be something that you have to overcome. But like I said, Guerrero did it. Others, Vladimir Klitschko had some issues and fought on through those. So, how can we sit here 2 days later and write this dude off? It makes no sense to me. And here with Queensberry and Frank Warren, they do things differently over there, man. Well, I mean, maybe he was a little overly ambitious. I don't know how Dubois was hyped up. We all saw what his flaws were and what his deficiencies were. So, this was a very close fight. Of course, had Dubois won, it definitely catapults him up into to the forefront of the division, and you see what's next. As if we're Queensberry Promotions, we would have been, if I'm them, we would have been looking a lot better today had Dubois seen this thing through and maybe pulled out that victory, or had he just stopped Joyce. You're looking a lot better today. With Joyce, yeah, you still don't look too bad. I mean, he has to wait and see, and we go from there. But, like I said, for Dubois and for the UK, a lot of fighters are not going to have all the everything stacked in their favor when they go to some of these tests, some of these step-ups, some of these very meaningful fights or these tough fights. Sometimes in boxing, we get the truth or we get something interesting when somebody has to do something, when you have to do it. We got a lot of stuff going on in boxing where guys are picking and choosing what they do and only take the risks that are most favorable to them. And a lot of the public goes along with that just to support the guy they like or the promoter they like or the network they like. So anyway, let me get on out of here, man. I didn't 18 minutes. Terrible. Anyway, man, bite down boxing. Don't let them count you out. Daniel Dubois, don't let them count you out, man. Regroup, come back, I look at some of these cornermen, with all of these 40, 50 fighters I'm watching. I don't know if his corner was really great for him. And, a lot of these guys in the UK, I don't know about these cornermen, and who's handling the maturation process for these guys, the development of some of these guys. And his corner might have been, might have hamstrung him a little bit in this particular fight. But that's for another story. Don't let them count you out, bro. Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment, you had to be great to start, but you had to start to be great. 1.